everyone, welcome to First Things First. It is a Monday morning here in New York City. I'm Jenna Wolf. That is the Hall of Famer, Cris Carter. This is Nick Wright. We have got a great show for you today.
Yes.
We got a week until the Super Bowl, and we got a week's worth of material to talk about. We also got some basketball. The Lakers could be adding another star by next week. The Steelers are looking at trade options for Antonio Brown, but we got to start with New England. Half of the Super Bowl teams that are in it. We'll get to the Rams in a second. Patriots landed upon Atlanta on Sunday. Site of Super Bowl 53. It is the site of Super Bowl 9 for Tom Brady. He won 5 of them already. In fact, there isn't much he hasn't done in this league. Aren't many awards he hasn't won. So at the age of 41, the oldest quarterback in the league, is it possible he would retire after this game? But we'll let Tom Brady himself tell you.
Is there any chance that this is your last game? Zero.
Zero.
Say it. I don't want to just say
There's
it.
zero, yeah.
Okay.
There's zero. I've said that for a long time. I feel like I'm asked that a lot, and I feel like I repeat the same answer, but no one wants to believe me.
I feel like one of the coaches in the AFC East, like, trying to tell you, are you sure this is not your I'm not the end?
I know. I just, you know, I've set a goal for myself at 45, and like I said before, it's very hard to make it that far. I know how hard it was this year, you know, and the commitment it takes, and hopefully I've learned from some of the things that happened this year to be better next year, but every year is tough.
CC, we keep asking, he keeps answering. We ask again, he answers again. He has said 45 multiple times, and yet for some reason, we keep asking. What do you make of what Tom Brady had to say?
I like the fact that Tom's answering the questions because he's the one set it out there at 45. Now, there was a conflict between what he was trying to do and what Belichick would typically allow, even for a star player. We just haven't seen Belichick and the Patriots invest in older players, players that potentially are on. He'll trade you before that last year where your potential is already exhausted. So Belichick's been a guy that move off of the star players. Brady's been consistent as far as he wants to play a long time. But I think that the threshold of breaking through 40, and since they've been 40, this year I thought was the most important year in the fact that they lost Nate Solder, their left tackle. They were able to replace him with a rookie, and that offensive line, it's been fantastic. So for me, with Tom Brady getting to 40, and now at 40, they're protecting him as well as they protected him the last 10 years, it's going to be hard to... I understand why he wanted to keep playing. The game is not getting tougher for him like for aging players. The game is getting easier, not only just based on the rules, but based on Dante Scarnecchia, that great offensive line coach, what he does from a protection standpoint. Defensively, they always are going to support them, not giving up a bunch of points. So I can see this continuing. He's trying to be true to form. I liked a little bit in there. He said, it's going to be hard to get to, but I'm going to try.
Well, so a lot of things I think you said are key, most notably not getting hit. Like Tom Brady, if he hasn't been sacked this postseason, C pointed out that over the last quarter of the season as well, he's one of the few lowest sacked quarterbacks in football. Like, if his brain's not going to get worse and his accuracy is only going to trail off, I would say, a little bit each year, but he's still one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the league. The things you would worry about is overall arm strength, which was never his biggest strength, and the ability to take a punishment, particularly late in the season when it's cold outside. Well, he hasn't had to deal with that at all this postseason. He's only been hit 3 times, and he's been sacked 0 times. I think he was the 6th lowest sacked quarterback in the regular season to go along with that. But the reason that I do think it's a relevant question and it should be asked is when Brady first set out, when he first started talking about playing till he was 45 years old, that was 3 seasons ago, right after they had lost that AFC Championship game 20-18 to Peyton Manning and the Denver Broncos, and Peyton then retired after winning the Super Bowl. Since he said, yeah, I want to play till I'm 45, he's won another Super Bowl to get him past Montana, gotten to another one and lost to the Eagles, and won an MVP that year, and then is in this Super Bowl. And so now you're like, well, you were saying 45, but at the time, did you think you were going to go to 3 straight Super Bowls, have a chance to start your career with a Super Bowl win over the Rams, and then potentially end your career with a Super Bowl win over the Rams? But this is the most remarkable Tom Brady stat that I've seen recently. Dusty showed it to me this morning. Here's Brady in his 20s versus Brady in his 40s. And I understand in his 20s he started out as a game manager, but if we can show it, Brady So Brady in his 40s has a higher passer rating, a better touchdown interception ratio, higher completion percentage, more yards per game. All of those than in his 20s. So it's not 30s versus 20s. It's 40s versus 20s. And now he's at 2.5 seasons of experience of playing in his 40s.
Do you think we'd be having the same conversation if he wasn't winning, if he wasn't playing this well, if the team wasn't making it to the playoffs?
No, absolutely not. Because his career would be a lot like the other legends that we've seen. His body begins to deteriorate, or he doesn't have the support around him to be able to win. Yes, Tom Brady, it's about more than his performance now. It's about winning. Can he guide his team? This season, not the best season for Tom Brady, but he gets his team. Now, they weren't great on the road. They struggled a little bit on the road this year in 8 games, 3-5, but they get it done in the AFC Championship game. So it's about winning in the NFL. I like the fact how you mentioned 3 years ago when he said this. Now, I believe in the back of Tom Brady's mind, he wanted to remove that comparison between him and Peyton Manning. Now, I believe that was an age thing, but also I believe it was a Super Bowl and the greats of the greats thing. So I believe also from an age standpoint, he wanted to play longer than Peyton Manning played. Now, we saw Peyton Manning at the end of his career, and we saw his health begin to fail him, and that's why he quit playing, because he couldn't play to that level. Tom setting that, I believe, as a real goal, and Peyton Manning being the target, I believe led him to here. He's taking care of his body. You got to give him credit. And, which I believe is even harder, he's kept his mind engaged. And that right there, I believe, is remarkable, dealing with Bill Belichick every day for 18 years. Hard to impossible.
And I think it's a perfect point, the Brady versus Manning, when so often we do Brady versus Montana, because I think Manning is the quarterback Brady had measured himself against, and we have some evidence of this, evidence that Tom Brady wishes we didn't have. But if you remember during the Deflategate saga, when his text came, or his email to a friend came out, someone brought up Peyton, and he said, and I'm paraphrasing, yeah, but Peyton's only got a couple years left. I'm going to play another 8 or 8 to 10, I think he said. So even then, he was, even if he wasn't publicly stating it, he was already thinking in his mind's eye, I'm going to play till my mid-40s. Peyton's about done. That's when there will no longer be a discussion about who the greatest quarterback of this era actually was. And he was right. Like, even if he doesn't play again, which he's going to, obviously, that discussion has ended. Like, nobody does the Manning versus Brady comparison anymore. And that was a real discussion for the majority of their careers. And for a good portion of that, most people leaned Manning based on the raw ability, even though Brady had the rings.
Why is it so hard to walk away from the game, even if your body is letting you down a little bit, or you know you've played long enough? It seems that for professional athletes, they have such a hard time, even when they know that it's time, walking away.
It's such a special time in your life, and there's nothing that will ever be able to replace it. And those who I've talked to that have been very, very successful, that they realize they were in a special time in their life. They were at a special age, especially with a special group of people. Because regardless of what type of job you have afterwards, or if you decide to transition into something else, you won't be in that rarefied atmosphere as far as the young people, the amount of money, the type of influence, the type of energy they bring to the office every day. You can't be replaced, the euphoria of it. And the last thing I would say, and people don't like to refer to it a lot, but it's hard to give up the roar of the crowd. It is a drug. Now, certain people take it the right way, and other people are able to deal with it better than others. But the roar of people calling your name, and for you to be able to do something to make people stand on their feet, to applaud your overall ability, that's a tough adjustment. Who would be in a rush to give that up?
Well, you've done, obviously, you've now been out of the league longer than you were in the league, and you've had a bunch of really cool, fulfilling jobs. But I would imagine nothing has come close to 80,000 people in the Metrodome cheering because you catch a touchdown. Like, and I would assume it's one of the same reasons some bands continue to tour, even though they got all the money in the world, like they might not even like each other anymore. But the ability to, through your singular talent, generate that type of reaction from those numbers of people, I think it's a singular atmosphere where it's possible. Like, there is no roaring crowd here. Mark Cuban once said, when he was talked about his businesses versus the Mavericks, he said, Apple can have the greatest quarter ever. They ain't throwing them a parade. Like, you know, and so the ability for that to be kind of validated in real time by other people, I would imagine, is intoxicating.
All right, we'll talk about this from a number of different angles over the course of the morning. Let's get to some basketball on the other side. Is it time for the Lakers to move on from their head coach, Luke Walton? That's next on First Things First.